Yo, what's up? It is only Thursday today. We have some fun announcements to make in the beginning, but we're also going to talk about prices below MSRP, Genesis getting in the home energy business, and salespeople versus sales AI. Let's go. The people really want to know. Kyle, you said something super funny. I thought it was super funny. Basically, Kyle and I just amuse each other all day long. That's what we actually do.
It's an excuse to try and outwit each other. That's all our day is.
So talk about your there's a certain name that people might have that are just a little disappointed these days.
Yeah, so it's a name that kind of if you look at it a little bit too close or you're capitalized or anything like that.
Name.
AI quickly becomes Al. All the Als of the world, which we have an Al on our team.
Yeah, we do.
It must feel painful to be like salespeople versus Al. If you read it, right?
And the reason it's Al already is because they don't want to be Albert.
Right.
Like I want to do Al. I don't want to do Albert. I don't want to do Albert. I want to do Al. So
I'm just going to do Al.
If it's me,
now I'm AI. I don't know how to do my name.
I'm going all caps.
All caps. Go.
If it's me, it's all caps. I'm all caps Al from this point forward.
All caps Al.
Don't confuse me with the AI guy. Hey, we have a fun release that's coming next. Is it next week? 17th? Mid next week, we are going to release some info, some tickets, and some sponsorship prospectus for a SoduCon. It's been locked and loaded. Locked and loaded.
Paul, should we give him a sneak peek? There's the
Oh, there it is. Okay, if you're watching, if you're just listening, you don't see it, but if you're watching, there's the design aesthetic for SoduCon 2023. Our designer, Ron, who happens to hold a very high position in another company you totally recognize, did all of our design last year, did it again this year. SoduCon 2023, collaboration critical, is coming in so hot starting next week. It's going to be in Baltimore in the last week of September. So circle that week on your calendar. We need you to join us there. It's going to be 2 full days with a little evening thing the night before. Baltimore, it's so easy to get in and out of. And the venue is only like a few miles from the airport. So again, we're trying to give you that land and be with your people within like less than 10 minutes.
Bam.
It's gonna none of this. Get off the train, get off the plane, drive an hour and a half in traffic because you're in a major metro. Like, I love you, major metros. I grew up in one, but I hate your traffic so bad.
So bad. Look at that.
So please.
Comments coming in. People like Nathaniel Greklick is excited. Here we go. Let's go. I can't wait to launch the full, the site's getting developed in the background. If you go to soducon.com, you're just going to see a little stuff. So just hang tight.
Oh, but we didn't talk about the other thing. So we've had some conversations with I was going to say Steve Jobs. No. If we had conversations with Steve Jobs, I literally right now cannot remember the CEO of Apple, Tim Cook. That's my mind. So we've been having some conversations with Tim Cook, kind of indirectly through the App Store, because there's going to be, I know it's many steps removed, but within the next month or two, if you search a Sodu on the App Store, guess what? There's going to be a SoduCon app, legit app on the Apple Store.
All the cool things up in there.
Everybody's saying hi this morning. Jason Harris dropping in. What's up, man? Got Brian in here, Nathaniel, Brian Ortega. Oh, we got two Brians in one show. We're going to do that all today. Wow. All right. Let's talk about some news. That's what people really want to know, I guess. Okay. For the first time in nearly 2 years, new vehicle prices have dropped below the MSRP. For the first time in 2 years, according to Kelley Blue Book data, as consumers have more choice, they're getting better deals, they're saying. So luxury vehicles continue to go over MSRP. Non-luxury vehicles are now dropping below. The overall balance of all of that means the average price of a new vehicle is now below MSRP. The average transaction price declined 1.1% from March, or in March, to $48,008 from February's $48,558. However, March prices are still 3.8% higher than they were a year ago. So
it's just overall, like the roller coaster King of Ka.
Okay, that's right. The biggest.
You have to go back and watch the monologue from the live tonight to understand that little jab. Hey, look, everybody in the industry knows that prices are starting to decline. People are getting more aggressive. And if you're paying attention to the news, you know that even eggs dropped 10.9% last month. So everything's a little bit on a decline from a retail pricing side of things. So I think we're going to continue to see that trend as inventory rises. It'll still be hard to find used cars. But hey, they're below MSRP for the first time. Who would have thought?
I know it. Yeah, I would have thought, which means incentives. We've been talking about incentives, right? Especially if you're like Stellantis dealer, inventory's ramping up. Incentives are coming back. We actually asked Christopher Singleton on the Live Tonight show what he thought about that, because they have some Stellantis dealers. And he had an interesting perspective, because he said, he goes, I'm an advocate of whatever's good for the consumer. And at a time when pricing is so high, if there's now some money on the hood, right, where they can get a better deal on a vehicle they've been waiting for and needed, he goes, it's hard to be against that. So I was like, I appreciate that perspective. I appreciate that.
There you go.
Oh,
that works.
It does work. Speaking of things that maybe work, I think it'll work.
Segue.
I would trust. So yesterday, in a press release, Genesis, so Hyundai Genesis, introduced its own Tesla-inspired home energy solution, complete with electric vehicle charging, solar panels, and battery energy storage in the home. The all-in-one basically also offers personalized support, where you have a dedicated home energy advisor that will help get you the right fit and the right system. Here's a quote from the press release. Genesis Home is an end-to-end mobility solution, both lowers barriers to EV adoption while simultaneously providing a seamless solution for our discerning clients to generate, and that's how they say that, our discerning clients, and store dependable, clean electric power to harness their home energy to charge their electric vehicle, said Claudio Marquez, Chief Operating Officer of Genesis North America. And then I had to pull a little comment out of the comment section of the Electrek article that said, copy the part where they offer home storage and solar, but don't copy the part where they take forever to do the install and have terrible customer service. So obviously that's someone has a little experience.
A little experience with the Tesla side of things. We're going to see more and more manufacturers go deeper into all of the things that connect to the electric vehicle needs. And I think they're gonna mirror Tesla. They're gonna mirror software as a service. They're gonna mirror all of these revenue opportunities. And if it's an indication of what any retailer, anyone that's thinking about a product set past their primary product set should do, is look at the things that are closely aligned with what you're already doing, where you can tap into new revenue opportunities that also serve the customer. And this is one of those examples of it. So when you think about, hey, we got to get this vehicle charged, boom, solar panels, energy storage, very easy walk from a revenue perspective. And it's that like one place to go for everything, solve all your problems as a consumer. And especially for a brand like Genesis that's in the luxury segment, that's what those customers expect. So when you're thinking luxury, when you're thinking consumer experience, thinking adjacent revenue opportunities to serve customers is a really, really solid mindset.
We were in to that same topic of like, how can you help solve the whole ecosystem issue, or at least serve the customer through this transition? And like, people have questions. We've seen dealers who actually stock like just some home charging outlets, right? Like some of those 240 volt, so they can see it in place. Hey, you want this installed in your home, have partnerships with local installers. So then you can connect the purchaser with a home energy advisor, or even just like an electrician who you have a relationship with. And I think that that's a really basic level. Anyone who sells an EV should do that, right? Like, have a little setup in your showroom where you're like, this is what it looks like in your house. This is how you plug it in. This is the price for this one.
Education day where you bring in an electrician, you bring in a home energy advisor, you bring in the OEM, you bring in
some cookies,
advisor,
right?
Like bring in a little cookie, little thing, have a little event around it, and start creating. Be the resource, right?
We're going to keep saying that. I mean, obviously Genesis taking a big swing, and look, Hyundai is one of the largest companies in the world. If you're not just the auto manufacturer, but like the industrial and the development side, I trust that they're going to do a good job with this. But the reality is, like, this kind of system is going to cost like 150 grand, right? You need the solar panels and right. So limited market availability, but it makes sense.
Luxury market still high income. Yeah,
for sure. But I mean, like the other stuff, like, get in the game. There's literally no excuse for any dealer who sells an EV to not at least be in the entry level game.
Yep.
No excuse. Well, I was going to say, speaking of no excuses.
Speaking of the entry level game.
Oh, okay. We'll go with that one. That was a much better one. Much better one.
Hey, as the likely epic battle of humans versus Al, I mean AI in the workspace get going. One company outsources human sales reps for retail products. Feel the conversation rate. Check this out. I'm going to slow this down. The conversion rate. Sorry.
That's all right.
When someone talks to a human as opposed to an AI rises from 1 to 3% to 10 to 25%. It's
a major difference.
A major difference when you like right now. If Matt Lasher listens to this episode, he's doing like running circles in his home. Basically, what happens from Feel is when a customer asks a question. A rep featured in the article, Brooklyn Castro, says she takes one-on-one video calls from her home and makes sure the difference is known right away. She says, "I have to reiterate, hey, I'm a human. My name is Brooklyn, and I am real." Says Brooklyn. Feel is training bots to replace humans with their co-founder and chief executive. Basically, like they're trying to battle this, like how much human input, how much AI input do we have with our communication with our customers? So it's man, it's a challenging battle. You know,
Feel has a company where they're like, hey, the human element matters.
Yep,
and the data says it matters a lot. Like some of the examples in this article, you should go check it out. Like the full article, it talks about like selling. One of the things was like a baby monitor, right? And just like think of the empathy when you're like, oh, is this monitor going to be good? Like, because it basically monitors the baby's breathing and like whether they rolled over or not. All the things do that. And you just think of the empathy of a human and talk you through the process. Even think about it from the car business, right? Absolutely. There is a level of like, I don't want a bot. And the further you go in a conversation, literally the more bot-like it typically becomes, right? But when there's,
and you can recognize like, hey, this person isn't actually listening or this thing isn't actually listening, especially if there's any sort of like human context that it has to understand.
That's legit, right? Especially on a video call. I mean, like, how do you even do that? And so the company Feel is, tell Brian Ortega with the comment, Al or Hal?
I see what he did there. I see what he did there.
So basically, if you think about it, the company is actually still trying to train AI bots and says it would be stupid to keep paying humans. But an interesting turn. So there's a group of researchers that actually, Steve Wozniak, speaking of Apple executives, co-founder of Apple, they're asking questions. Should we automate away all the jobs, even including the fulfilling ones? I was like, that's a pretty awesome question to ask as humans, right? Because it's not just all about efficiency. It's about fulfillment. Like we would all agree that in order to thrive in a life as a human, you need to experience a sense of fulfillment. And like work is good for people. It is like you look at what happens when someone doesn't have work, right? And they get depressed and they get their life starts to fall apart. Even if they have like a full life of leisure, like people who pursue that often end up very sad. Right. Because
and I think it's interesting that it's not just these researchers, but like they're as early as late last week, a bunch of tech entrepreneurs, including people like Elon Musk, have said, hey, look, we got to throw some reins on this AI movement.
Who was part of inventing ChatGPT,
exactly,
or OpenAI,
or a major investor, right?
Yeah,
in early in that company. So you know, I think that there's just a healthy level of discourse on how much or how little to integrate this. The CEO of OpenAI, the ChatGPT founder, Sam Altman, basically said, hey, I recognize the potential of it to impact careers. And then he came out with kind of an interesting kind of, hey, let's go this way. He said he wanted to suggest government-funded universal basic income as a possible solution, which is,
goes back to my last point.
Yeah, exactly. Fulfillment, right?
It's why communism doesn't work.
There it is.
We're gonna get in so much trouble in this podcast. But let me just say
we've been troublemaker this week. We've been pulling all the stops.
If I'm digging 2 ditches a day and you're digging 1 ditch a day, and we're getting the same amount of money, are you gonna ever aspire to dig 2 ditches a day? No, my 2 ditches is gonna start to look terrible. I'm gonna start digging one. Man. Either way, but it's a major conversation.
This is wild, but like my family and I watched the movie Wall-E. And I know that this is like and
dude, I thought the exact same thing. I was like, this is how P&L happens.
It's like the question, like that's the like long example of this, right? If you've ever seen the movie and people just kind of like riding around on carts with screens in front of their faces and robots doing everything, that's a very long, like far pushed out example.
Sure.
But the thought remains, and I think that these companies are starting to try and wrestle with the idea of how much AI interaction and communication, or even like replacement of human jobs, is healthy, and how much human job nature do we need in order to be successful, help people feel fulfilled. Because the other end of that is feeling fulfilled also leads to purchasing behavior on the other side. So it's not just really the job side, it's the retail side of commerce.
Oh man. So this story actually surprisingly can get very, very deep in the practical and philosophical pursuits of all humankind, which is the only really thing we're talking about. All humankind here on the Automotive Troublemaker. To close that article out, Brittany Arnold, another rep for that company Feel, she sells fashion and home goods for retail clients. And she says, humans crave other humans. And I think that interaction is always going to be something that AI will never come close to. I helped a lady mourn the death of her service dog the other day. So, I mean, and you think of all the stories that walk through a dealership door on a regular basis, or walk into the finance office on a regular basis. And those people don't need the direct answer. And that's it. They need compassion. They need empathy, and they need somebody who puts them in a spot that they can actually succeed, not just taillights over the curb, right? Like for that point forward. And that's what we're really doing in this industry.
Send them to it.
That's what we're doing in this industry. That's why we're making a TV series called More Than Cars, because it's so much more than cars. Get out there, do more than cars today, and we'll see you around tomorrow.